I think the biggest problem guitar players face when they're learning is not having any direction. You know, at this point, the internet is so saturated with great guitar instruction that I'm sure you could find a good lesson video for just about any topic you wanted to learn. What's still really hard, especially for self-taught players, is taking all the skills and concepts you need to learn and putting them in order so that you can actually get better. To help solve this problem, in this video, I'm going to list everything you should learn on guitar in order. This is the complete guitar learning roadmap. It has 10 levels, so let's start at level 1. But before we get started, I want to be clear that I'm not going to be teaching all these concepts in this video. This is just an outline to give you some guidance. Anyway, level 1. In level 1, I want to welcome you to playing guitar. It's a great hobby, the one big downside being that the last day you're ever going to be happy with your guitar playing was yesterday. To be perfectly honest, in level 1, we're going to cover a lot of definitional stuff. It's stuff that you got to learn so you can kind of understand what we're talking about in the later levels. You should start with learning some really basic stuff, like what are the parts of the guitar? How do I hold the guitar? How do I hold the pick? You should learn the basic mechanics of playing, starting with strumming. You should learn how to do down strums and up strums. You should learn how to fret notes. You should learn how to pick a single note, which is different from strumming. Getting right into the basics of theory, you should learn what is a note and how many notes are there. You should also learn what intervals are and the two most fundamental intervals, which are half steps and whole steps. And finally, you should round off level 1 by learning how to tune your guitar. Learn all that stuff and then move right along into Level 2. If you've decided to stick around, I can tell that you're either trying to impress a potential romantic partner or earn the respect of your father. Learning to play guitar won't achieve either of these goals, but it will be fun, so let's learn about Level 2. Level 2 is all about chords. You want to start off by learning what is a chord. Then you should move on to learning your first 7 chords ever. These chords should be E major, E minor, A major, A minor, G major, C major, and D major. These are called open chords, and that's your first starter pack. After you get those chords under your hands, you should learn the basics of rhythm, basically how to count music and different note values. And then you should learn how to apply these two concepts to strumming. Finally, you should start to learn your first couple of songs. I'm going to give you some song recommendations here, and these are going to fall into one of two categories. These are either going to be really simple chord-based strumming songs, or they're going to be songs that can be played all on one string. The two simple chord-heavy strumming songs that I recommend are For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield and Wagon Wheel by Old Crow Medicine Show, famously covered by Darius Rucker. And the songs that you should learn that can all be played on one string should be Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, Iron Man by Black Sabbath, and Seven Nation Army by The White Stripes. And that completes level 2. Alright, level 3. At this point, your skills are improving and you're probably becoming popular in local basements. Whereas level 2 was all about chords, level 3 is going to be mostly about scales. You should kick this level off by learning what is a scale. And now that you know what a scale is and chords from the previous level, then you should be able to put those two together to understand what is a key. The first scale you should learn is in this level, that is the minor pentatonic scale. Next, you should learn the right hand technique of alternate picking, and you should start down the road of learning all the notes on the fretboard by learning all the notes on the low E string. As far as the song recommendations go, in this level, they're going to be a little bit more advanced than they were in the previous level. The big difference here is that I've picked songs that incorporate single note lines with strumming chords. The first song recommendation here is Hurt, the Johnny Cash version, not the 9 Inch Nails version. Next is Sweet Home Alabama by Leonard Skinner, Runnin' Down a Dream by Tom Petty, House of the Rising Sun by The Animals, and Highway to Hell by AC/DC. Level 4. This is the level where, at family gatherings, you're going to start getting requests from your grandma to play us something. This, of course, will be the most awkward experience of your entire life. In level 4, you should learn the second position major pentatonic scale. This builds on what you learned in level 3, which was the first position minor pentatonic scale. You should also learn how to play bar chords in this level. You want to focus on major and minor bar chords with 5th and 6th string roots. As sort of a sub-point to learning bar chords, you should also learn what triads are here. You should memorize all the notes on the A string, which is a continuation of learning all the notes on the E string in the previous level. And as far as ear training goes, you should be able to identify what key a song is in at this level. The final thing you should do in level 4 is start trying to improvise some guitar solos. Right now, you should focus on doing that by playing over songs and using backing tracks. A good source of backing tracks are the YouTube channels Now You Shred and Elevated Jam Tracks, and the song recommendations are great songs to learn and they're good songs to practice soloing over. They are Sultans of Swing by Dire Straits, Layla by Derek and the Dominoes, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, and Whole Lotta Love by Led Zeppelin. Level 5. At this point, you're really getting to be pretty decent. Although, unfortunately, this is the level where you're going to start to think that you suck more than anybody who's ever lived. The Dunning-Kruger effect kicks in hard here. In level 5, you should learn all 5 positions of the pentatonic scale, which is really easy because you've already learned the first and second position, you just gotta add the final 3 positions. And real quick, that's super important. That'll be the first time you're able to solo and play scales across the entire neck. You should also learn the major and minor diatonic scales in this level. That's a step beyond the pentatonic scales. Kind of in that vein, you should learn a bit of music theory. You should learn what is a parallel versus a relative major and minor scale. Another theory concept in this vein is you should learn how half steps and whole steps are arranged to build the major scale, and how the major scale is modified to create the pentatonic scale. This is the level where you really want to start focusing on your stylistic techniques. I'm referring specifically to hammer-ons, pull-offs, bends, vibrato, natural harmonics, and pinch harmonics. Now, I don't have any more song recommendations starting at this level, and there's a good reason for that. At this point, I'm going to turn you loose and tell you to learn whatever song you want to learn. If you think that your skill level isn't high enough to learn a certain song at this point, then you should increase your skill level as a part of learning that song. What I'm saying is at this point, I would stop seeking out songs that are specifically good for beginners, or specifically good for intermediate players, for example. I'm just going to say it. Quit being afraid. They're just songs. Anyway, that completes level 5. Level 6. In this level, you're a little better than you were in level 5, but instead of thinking that you suck, now you think that you're God's gift to man. You're wearing sunglasses at night, you own fur, your couch is wrapped in leather, and your bed sheets are cheetah print. This is your whole personality, and you love it. In level 6, the most important thing you're going to learn is the first thing, and that is how to harmonize the major scale. This is sometimes informally called learning the chord scale, but this is going to reveal to you all the chords that are available to you when you're in any given key. Right alongside that, you should learn the Nashville number system. Next, you should learn about functional harmony and what function different chords have in context. And that concept actually leads into the next ear training concept you should learn, which is in this level. That is, you should be able to use functional harmony to be able to hear and identify different chord changes. And finally, you should just familiarize yourself with some really common chord progressions in this level. Actually, one more thing, this doesn't fit anywhere else in the roadmap, it's kind of a one-off thing, but you should understand compound time signatures here. And that completes level 6. Alright, level 7. To be honest, I don't really have a joke for this level. I'll just go ahead and tell you, we're going to learn about 7th chords in this level, so, 7th chords in the 7th level. That's kind of clever, I guess. It's not really a joke, but this is a hard video to write, so just let me have this one. In level 7, we're going to expand on your understanding of triads from level 4 by adding a new note to those, by adding the 7th is what we call that note. The big implication of this is that now we can play a kind of chord called 7th chords. There's several kinds of 7th chords, but you should focus on major 7th chords, minor 7th chords, and dominant 7th chords with roots on the E string and the A string. As a bit of a footnote to this level, you should learn how that dominant 7th chord relates to the harmonization of the major scale that we learned in level 6. Level 8. In this level, the band is broken up, you've been to rehab, you've written the tell-all autobiography, and you're starting to think the violence-themed last name looks pretty bad on the divorce documents. But life is still worth living because you can still get better at guitar. Level 8's another one of these levels that's short, that doesn't take long to explain, but to master this stuff takes a lifetime. Here you should learn all 7 diatonic modes, you should learn all the scale intervals, and you should use that knowledge of intervals to help develop your ear so that you can hear guitar solos and melodies and be able to play them by ear. Like I said, it's a short level. One thing I want to point out is, starting in about level 8, and especially as we move into these upper levels, don't be afraid to move on before you've totally mastered this stuff. When we get into these concepts that are more related to creating music, so improvising and writing music, like diatonic modes, for example, that was mentioned in this level. It's hard to say what mastery of this stuff even looks like. That's more of a creative thing than anything else. Guitar players who have spent a lifetime with the instrument would probably tell you that they haven't even mastered 1 diatonic mode out of the 7. But speaking of moving on to level 9, now if you've made it to level 9, you're one of 3 people. College professor, musical reptile, or 8-year-old on YouTube who's been sent here to demoralize us all. In level 9, the first thing you want to learn is the caged system. The next thing you want to learn are what's called arpeggios, specifically the arpeggios that are related to the caged chord shapes that you just learned. The next thing you want to learn is why we're focusing on the caged system and arpeggios so much. You want to learn how you can use chord tones in a solo or a melody to accentuate chords that are already being played in a song. Once you got a good handle on that, you want to modify the arpeggios that you learned earlier in this level by adding the 7th, that note that we learned back in level 7, to the arpeggios. We're going to round off level 9 with an ear training concept. That is that you should be able to hear different different harmonic parts of a song. So we talked before about being able to hear a general chord structure. Now you want to develop your ear to the level where you can tell if there's an instrumentalist that's maybe not following the mainline chord progression of a song. You know, is the bass doing something different? Is a piano player doing something different? If you can identify and understand that kind of thing, then you're pretty much at the highest level of being able to play by ear. And that takes us to the final level, which is level 10, the final level. If you complete this level, you will be able to discover new notes, just like Dave Grohl.
What key is this in?
L sharp.
You found a new musical note?
Hell motherfucking yes, I did.
In level 10, I want to be honest about the fact that a lot of these concepts really start to skew towards jazz, but they are the natural progression of topics that we've talked about so far, so I wanted to include them in this roadmap. At this point, you should understand chord extensions beyond the 7th. The most important among these are going to be 9ths, 11ths, and 13ths. It's at this point that you should learn what's called the harmonic minor scale, as well as its modes and arpeggios. Next, you should learn the melodic minor scale, as well as its modes and arpeggios. And real quick, at this level, you should seek to understand how the natural minor, harmonic minor, and melodic minor scales fit together into a trinity of minor scales that all serve slightly different purposes. At this point, I can't recommend any more complex scales. You know, we're getting into the world of exotic scales now, and there are no longer any more really obvious natural progressions. Whatever you want to learn here, it's going to be a pretty radical departure from the stuff that we've learned so far. And in fact, that doesn't just apply to scales, I think that applies to everything on the roadmap. So I'm going to go ahead and call this the end point. Although of course there isn't actually an end point. You never get to a point on guitar where you look at it and say, yeah, I learned how to play guitar now, I've completed that task. At this point, go ahead and specialize. I think part of the reason this is a really good stopping point is because everything we've talked about so far really applies to pretty much every guitar player on the planet. And if you want to progress beyond this, you really have to start getting very genre specific, so do that. Progress in whatever genre you think is awesome. Pick a style or a couple of styles and go become a guitar wizard. But I hope this roadmap has kind of given you a good idea of the fundamentals that I think everybody should learn. Hey you guys, Editing Kevin from the future here. I can't believe I forgot to mention this in the video, but I don't just make lists. I teach all this stuff on this channel. I'll add a card for the video that I made that fully explains and teaches level 1 if you want to start there. Now, longtime viewers of this channel will know that I made a video very similar to this a while ago. And before you guys get all mad and roast me for kind of retreading a lot of the same ground, I want to explain why I did this. First of all, this roadmap is super important. Right now, it's really the linchpin of this guitar learning method I'm putting together for you guys. And, you know, I'm in the lucky position that there's a lot of new subscribers, but there's a lot of people who haven't seen the roadmap, and so it's not a terrible idea to go back over it. Also, on the previous roadmap, you guys gave me a lot of great feedback, and you helped me realize, yeah, I missed some stuff. I wanted to add some things and change some things so that this roadmap, the update, would be more complete and flow a little better than the previous roadmap. You'll notice that that roadmap has 7 levels and this has 10 levels. And on top of both of those things, honestly, I'm just better at making YouTube videos now than I was when the original roadmap came out. So I'm not just going to be remaking this video every time I feel like I want some views, but I will be updating the roadmap if I feel like the content of the roadmap needs an update, or if the filmmaking, the communication of these ideas could be, of higher quality. In this case, I think both those things were true, so that's why you got an update. I promise I'm not just view farming. But anyway, I hope you liked it this time around. Good luck learning guitar, and as always, thank you for watching.